Hello again, friends. I'm Seed Hero, and welcome back to Radical Dreamers. Real quick before you maximize your tab away, if you could drop a like in the video, I'd appreciate it so much. Currently, we are just now leaving the study where we didn't really find anything, but we did almost get discovered by someone, and they made mention of Porre being on the move. I'm not entirely sure what that means or the significance of it, but we will likely find out. We made our way back down the dark side passage leading from the study. Eventually, we arrived back at the intersection. There's the stairs going downward, corridor branching left and right, and then the right branch leading back toward the terrace. So down the stairs is where the bedrooms were, and yeah, there was a bunch of stuff downstairs, but we should have that completely finished up. Yeah, so we are going to go down the left branch. We continued onward, past where the stairs and the side passage emerged into the main corridor. We found ourselves in front of some ornate double doors. We went inside. Kid gently pushed the heavy doors open and peeked inside. Doesn't look like anyone's in there. It seemed to be the main hall of the manor. There was a massive table, beautiful decorations on the walls, and thick columns decorated with sculptures of birds and beasts. Fixed to the wall in the back towered the tremendous pipe organ like a burnished black mountain. Dozens of candles provided a dim, flickering light, setting the corridors of the room dancing in and out of shadow. Several enormous portraits glowered down from high on the wall. Were these members of Lynx's family? I was busy staring at a painting depicting a young husband and wife, when I realized that their eyes had turned to look right at me. Oh, okay, they hadn't. Don't worry, this isn't about to turn into some dumb ghost story. It just looked that way because of the way the flickering light of the candles reflected against the glossy oil paints. Obviously. Probably. This place gives me the creeps. Get a load of all those ugly monks. There's nothing for us here. Let's look elsewhere. Neither McGill nor I had any objections. We left the hall and returned to the corridor. Meaning that this branch is entirely complete. So we need to go back toward the terrace. Kid stopped in her tracks, her senses clearly tingling. McGill and I were right behind her and immediately realized that something was very wrong. We could hear a faint whispering, as if a spell were being cast. And a faint light was emanating from a monster sitting crouched at the flagstones ahead. A long, bony finger traced shapes along the tiles. A demon! Pulled out my knife and readied myself to confront it. I went for it with my knife. I made a dash to one side of it, lifting my dagger as I went. I just want to clarify. I'm sorry if I pick options very quickly without reading them at all. We discovered in the previous episode that if something that you think might be a timed action, like for instance a monster attacking you, if you are presented with that option, if you wait for too long, then do nothing is your option that you've chosen and you suffer the penalty. So I will likely just read them very quickly in my head to myself and then just announce what we're actually doing. I made a dash to one side of it, lifting my dagger as I went, and tore clean through the creature's paper-thin skin. But it was only a flesh wound. Bloody thing's laughing at us! And it was too, chuckling maniacally in a way that made me deeply uneasy. I raised my knife again and prepared myself for the worst. My eyes met with the demon's, and it was then that I saw it. There was a twinkling behind them. I couldn't tear my gaze away. Its chuckle grew to a belly laugh as it peered into the very depths of my soul. And then just like that, it had muttered a few words and melted into the shadows. Seconds before it had towered over us, and now not a trace of it remained. What was that all about? Why would it just disappear mid-fight? I guess I had somewhere else to be. Kid gave a shrug, doing her best to at least feign indifference. But I couldn't shake the sense of unease that had filled me, and peered uneasily into the darkness into which the vile creature had disappeared. Wait a second. What's that? There was a leather bag on the ground, containing some recently cooked meat. Lucky me, I bit into it without a moment's hesitation. What? After devouring the unexpected windfall, I felt a little better. Oi, where's my share? Busted, I pretended not to hear. Whew, taking a few knocks, but I was alright. Scrape or two wouldn't stop me. Well, that was another bloody fine mess. What did we even bring you for, Serge? Kid's cold stare pierced through me like a javelin made of ice. After a short walk down the corridor, the terrace came into view. I was thinking that meat was going to be used on the Mouth of Truth. But apparently we just ate it. Which I guess is also an option. We are going to keep following the corridor. Back down on the right side. Over here, we've already been down here, but we only went to this first door. A short way along the corridor running from the right-hand side of the terrace, we found an ancient-looking door. Again, on our right. It looked like this was the way into the clock tower. We are going to continue on because we've already been in there. We returned to creeping down the darkened hallways as silently as we could. Continuing on down the corridor, we came across a rather sturdy-looking door on our left. A little further stood a stairway leading upward. This door is clearly meant to keep something safe. There ain't some kind of treasure behind it. Me name ain't Kid. Yep, that's the smell of cold, hard cash, all right. She muttered to herself as she began to inspect the door more closely. We're going inside. Bah, what, am I stupid? Of course it's bloody locked. Kid had tried the door handle a few times before giving it a grumpy kick. Bloody door's got a magic barrier on it, and the bloody barrier's got a barrier of its own to boot. It'll take more than me putting a boot in it to get through all that. I see, and unless we find the key, we don't have a hope of getting inside. Reckon I can handle a key hunt, especially if it's that idiot Lynx who's hidden it. If we can handle this room, I'll sniff it out in 2 seconds flat. Just you watch. There was a little more we could do here, so we decided to look elsewhere. She mentioned here if we can find his room, then she can find it. So before we continue further, I am going to real quick jump back into Lynx's room and see if she can find it. We are now back in the basement, walking towards Lynx's room, and Kid had to pause here. Kid stopped in her tracks, her senses clearly tingling. Miguel and I were right behind her and immediately realized that something was very wrong. We heard a faint whispering. Is it the gargoyle again? Monster sitting crouched on the flagstones? Yeah. Long bony finger traced the strange shapes on the tiles. I'm not going to just attack with the knife this time. Pulled out my knife and readied myself to confront it. Let's wait to see what it does. I watched the demon carefully, keeping a tight grip on my knife. Miguel didn't waste a moment and let rip of the spell. A ball of flame slammed into the creature. I could smell the stench of burnt flesh. The demon's eyes reddened and it bared its fangs. Cursed whispers filled the air. It was casting a spell. Bravely slashed at it with my knife. Leave this to me, I yelled, exactly at the same time as Kid. Slipped around to the left side of the demon as it swung its scythe down. Whoosh! The blade sliced the air a hair's breadth from my nose. A single moment later and I'd have had no nose left to speak of. Kid took advantage while the demon was focused on me, moved to stab it full in the back. The creature let out a grotesque howl and collapsed to the floor. Huh. Do you plan to be the decoy so I can finish it off? Or was that just a coincidence? Either way, it did the trick. Kid beamed with pride. The demon's blue blood pooled on the floor as it lay there, writhing in pain. Its face contorted with agony. It glared at us and began tracing strange shapes on the ground with the last of its strength. Kid sensed that something wicked was afoot. Just die already, will ya? But the demon carried on writing, strange shapes forming from his blood. An eerie light illuminated a hastily scrawled curse. And then there was a flash. Lightning-like bolts of energy danced around my feet. Kid, who was standing right next to the demon, jumped back with a start. Then it started drawing even more of the strange symbols. She took advantage of that while the creature was still concentrating. She twisted her body, stretched out a leg, and swung it in front with a graceful arc right into the demon's belly. With a final gasp, it collapsed on top of its unfinished hex. And at last, it lay still. Whew, look at all that experience points we got. Kidding. Whew, taking a few knocks. It was alright. Scraper 2 wouldn't stop me. We went down the dark passageway, eventually finding ourselves at a sturdy-looking, immaculately polished door. It was Lynx's room. Kid's eyes lit up, gleaming in the darkness with savage anticipation. Kid opened the door and slipped inside. I knew he wouldn't be here. He started looking for any signs of the key to the vault. Maybe she could help, said Kid, thrusting her chin toward the mirror. Gently pulled the soft cloth from the mirror and stared into the glass. It was dark, like the surface of a lake at night. What is your desire? I asked her where the key to the vault was. Oh, I kind of want to know about Lynx. Let's look for the key to the vault. You know where the key to the vault is? Mirror's reflection rippled and changed to reveal a room with the numerous bookshelves. A deep, sonorous voice spoke. You will find the key in the place I have revealed, the study. It is inside a book with a purple cover in the furthest bookshelf from the door. The image of the study vanished from the mirror, and the voice went silent. It appears the spirit has left for another mirror, commented McGill. To the study, then. I made to leave the room. A low voice rumbled through the air, stopping me dead in my tracks. Beware. He knows. Was it the voice of the mirror again? What did it mean? Hurry up, are we leaving you behind, Serge? Called the kid from outside. Flustered, I rushed after her. So Lynx knows we're here. I assume that's what that means. Corridor stretched out beyond the door. We retraced our steps. Suddenly, the darkness felt opaque. Something like a thick haze floated in the air in front of us. And then it took form, and someone blowing smoke into a person-shaped bottle. It was robed in a ragged shroud, and its sunken eyes glinted menacingly. It was the burning hatred that lingers even after death given form, of being driven by a hatred for all living things. A ghost! Bugger, that's us out! Kid bit her lip. There wasn't anything she or I could do to deal with an enemy that had no physical body. A voice boomed out behind me. McGill had begun casting a spell. I jumped behind McGill. I knew it was use. I jumped behind McGill. McGill cast me a glance, continuing his incantation without missing a beat, then grabbed me by the scruff of the neck and threw me at the ghost. I emitted a strange scream of horror that I'd probably never be able to repeat again. I tried to brace myself before I crashed face first into the wall. But the impact I was expecting never came. The core of the ghost, where its face seemed to be, had more substance than the rest of it. And I didn't just slip through it like I thought I would. I oozed through it like I was stuck in some kind of glue. You gods, it was disgusting. More disgusting than anything I'd ever known, and it was impossibly cold. It felt like it was draining all the heat right out of my blood. Like it was draining my life force itself, in fact. I struggled to break free, but I could find no purchase in the gooey ectoplasm. The coldness became more and more intense, and soon I didn't even know what cold meant anymore. This could be it for me, I thought. I was consumed by despair. And then there was a surge of heat through the muscles of my neck in the place where McGill had grabbed me just a moment before. At the same time, his incantation echoed in my mind. My vision was filled with a clear blue light. Serge! Oi, Serge! You still with us, mate? Someone was slapping me around the face. Someone who seemed to be enjoying it immensely. Kids, stop it, damn you! Leapt to my feet, wide awake again in an instant. Meg, did you really have to use me like that? When dealing with foes who attack the mind, it's simplest to lure them in with bait, then use their intended prey's consciousness as a conduit in order to make an assault from the astral plane. A direct magical attack would have meant a lengthy battle, a far less elegant solution, he replied, without a trace of guilt. Alright, let's keep moving. Kid gave the order to continue, seemingly completely oblivious to my brush with death. I was starting to feel a little worse for wear. Going to have to be more careful from now on, or this was going to end badly. Oh, that was another fine bloody mess. What did we even bring you for, Serge? Its cold stare pierced through me like a javelin made of ice. Alright, we are going to continue our way. We're on our way to the study. We headed down the side passage. At the end of it, we came to an old, immaculately polished door. This was the study. Alright, let's find this key. Light on her feet as always. Kid moved into the center of the room. Where'd the mirror say it was again, Serge? She was asking me. How was I supposed to remember? I'm pretty sure it was purple. In the far bookcase. Pretty sure. I think it was supposed to be one with a purple cover in the furthest bookcase. Alright, let's see. Seeming to take my word for it, Kid made for the case in question. Alright, this is the one. Purple cover, purple cover. Ah, it's gotta be it. Kid pulled out a book from the bottom shelf. McGill and I watched as she opened it. Pages were hollowed out, and inside was an old key decorated with strange symbols. Nailed it! Nice one, Serge. Kid snatched the key from inside of the book. Right, time to get a look at this treasure. Having got what we came for, we left the study. And I'm going to travel us back to the treasure room. Continuing down the corridor, we came across a rather sturdy-looking door on our left. A little further on stood a stairway leading upward. Alright, it's time. We're going inside. This should do it. The kid slipped the key we'd found into the lock. Lines of magical light flashed across the surface of the door and vanished as various magical barriers were dispelled. Up, down, left, right, blue, red, green, every color under the sun, and then all was quiet, and the darkness of the manor returned. Right, we're in. With a creak, the heavy door gently swung open. As soon as I saw what was inside, I gave a gasp. Kid stepped inside. Whoa, we've hit the mother lode! Damn. Out of the darkness loomed a veritable mountain of gold, silver, priceless works of art, and exquisite trinkets. Kid looked as if she were on the verge of drooling at the sight of it all. What thief wouldn't have been? After all, this was the kind of hoard that few people would ever come across in their lifetime. The smallest fraction of this vast mound of riches would have seen even the most careless spendthrift set for life. Our goal is the frozen flame. Ignore the rest. McGill spoke with an icy dedication to our mission. He had not even batted an eyelid at the sight that greeted us. Yeah, I know. She was disappointed, of course, but she soon set about scanning the room for objects of her hunt. Wait, is that it? Look at the pedestal over there. Turned to see what Kid was pointing at. And there it was. A small, yet perfectly formed jewel that gave off a pale red light. A jewel that looked like a flickering fire suspended in time. The frozen flame. Silently, McGill walked toward the pedestal and called out, Wait, we have to be careful. You're right. This is Lynx we're dealing with after all. We may very well be trapped. We should be on our guard. Let's be quick about this. But fine, have it your way, grumbled Kid, looking away. McGill examined the pedestal for a short while, then paused. We were wise to be cautious. Placing his left hand on the base of the pedestal, he muttered an incantation, drawing quick sigils in the air with his right. Some glyphs appeared on its smooth surface, and for a moment blazed brightly. There, now we can proceed. McGill calmly reached out and grabbed hold of the red jewel. Dun da da da! Serge and friends obtained the frozen flame. Phew, we managed to get what we came for without anything horrible happening to us. I breathed a sigh of relief and turned again to McGill. He was staring silently at the jewel in his hand. McGill, we did it! Let's get up! Before I could finish, the frozen flame crumbled to dust. This flame was a fake. Lynx must be keeping the real one somewhere safe. What? Suddenly, a siren rang out. The room was flooded with light and metal bars slammed down in front of the door. He turned with a gasp to see Kid frozen, an ornate crown in her hand, and a wide-eyed look of awkward shock on her face. Dun-da-da-da! Kid and friends obtained a golden crown too. You're kidding me, right? You had to go and you complete bonehead! I let rip with a stream of choice insults. In my head, that is. Metallic parrots in the four corners of the room suddenly came to life, flapping their wings and screeching. Oh, thieves, thieves! We're in trouble. These things are going nowhere, said McGill, inspecting the bars covering the door. Although, to look at him, you wouldn't have thought there was anything wrong. Which way? Which way? The parrots, to the vault. Weird voices in the distance. The manor guards were coming. Kid dived behind a pile of gold coins. Find somewhere to hide! In a panic, I looked around the room. There was a large chest sitting wide open next to the pillar. I rushed to empty it out and plunged in headfirst and closed the lid. Captain, there's no sign of anyone in there. No sign. Strange, peculiar. No one has ever escaped before. None have ever fled the mousetrap's clutches. None. Gently pushed up the lid of the chest and peeked through the gap. There were 5 goblins wearing suits of armor unlocking the gate and about to make their way inside. One of the goblins looked around the room, jerking his neck as he peered into the shadows. Captain, if it actually was a mouse this time. Chef was grumbling about mouses the other day, Captain. A mouse? A rodent? A rat? Would a teeny tiny thing like that really have sprung the trap? Replied a stocky, plump-looking goblin who must have been the captain. He didn't seem convinced. That was when I heard a strange but oddly familiar sound from the corner of the room. Squeak, squeak! It was coming from where Kid was hiding. Startled, the troops of goblins stopped and looked at each other. For a moment, none of them spoke. Eventually, the goblin captain rubbed his chin through his jowls and offered his thoughts. Mouses? I'm sure Chef was complaining about cats. Meow, meow? That voice again. Again, silence. The goblins only looked at each other. Funny you should say that, Captain. Why, I heard it. There weren't mouses or cats, it was a hecarim. An awkward silence followed. In my mind's eye, I could see Kid racking her brains to work out what hecarim was. I smell a rat, by which I mean a thief! Following the captain's lead, the guards reached for their weapons, and then... Heck, 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 heck! Heck, heck, heck! Ran, heckaran! Listen, it really is a hecarim. By heck, that proves it! The goblin guards grinned and nodded to each other. Cheeky little devil. Surprised me there. Let's get out of here, boys. The goblins filed out of the vault. I breathed a sigh of relief. And then they came charging back in again with a mighty roar. There's no such thing as hecarims. What, you sneaky little buggers? Roared Kid, leaping out from behind a pile of gold coins. You're one to talk, thief! Brandishing their weapons menacingly, the goblins moved slowly forward, forcing Kid into a corner. I quietly eased open the lid of the coffer and slipped out. Can't leave you anywhere, can I? I muttered to myself. I knew Kid could handle herself, but I didn't fancy her odds against a whole troop of heavily armed goblins. For a moment I wasn't sure what to do, then I made up my mind. I had to save Kid. Right, I had to save her. There was no way I was going to abandon my friend in need. Even if it meant facing off against a group of 5 goblin guards, I'd find a way to come out on top. I hoped. drew the knife from my belt and leapt into the middle of the room. Hey, Snot for Brains is over here. The goblins all turned to look at me at the same time. 10 beady, cruel little eyes all staring daggers at me. Fool, in a hurry to die, are we? I gulped and wondered if making a run for it might have been a better plan of action after all. Humans are so stupid. The Goblin Captain chuckled and licked his teeth. Yep, this one's got a death wish, all right. Why else would he be so stupid to come after Lord Lynx's treasure? Ha! That's a first. Being called dumb by a bloody goblin. Try acting tough when you're crying to your mum later on. Judging by Kid's response, she wasn't feeling massively threatened. And you tell her it was Kid who kicked your teeth in. So you're Kid, are ya? The sneaky little, slippery little thief we've heard so much about. The goblin narrowed his eyes. Heh. Lord Lynx will be thanking me from now till my retirement when I bring your head to him on a silver platter. The Goblin Captain pulled his morning star from his waist and started swinging. You don't know who you're messing with. We ain't no ordinary goblins, sweetheart. We're Lord Lynx's elite guards, the goblins that gobble other goblins. That's right, the Gob Squad. Oh, quit shooting your mouth off and let me stick a boot in it. And with that, Kid launched into a lightning-fast spinning kick. Her boot connected with the side of the goblin's head with a crack, sending the creature tumbling to the ground. Get him, lads! The boy looks scrawny. Start with him. The Goblin Captain spun the heavy metal ball of his morning star in the air. Glorious Gob Strike! Aye, aye! The goblins charged across the room in response to their captain's command. Oh, look at that goblin. I ran myself to parry. I just about managed to push my enemy's attack aside and tried to strike back with my knife, landing a heavy blow right in the goblin's unguarded flank. The goblin's face crumpled in agony. Kid lashed out with a lightning-fast kick. There's more where that came from. Please have mercy. The stricken goblin had collapsed to the floor, its eyes wide with fear. This isn't a game, Serge. Watch yourself, will ya? Another goblin flew down from overhead. Bombs away! With a growl, it sent its morning star swinging from above. I rolled away. I jumped across the floor, dodging the attack. But I wasn't fast enough, and the iron ball crashed straight into my back. My back? Am I dead? I let out a howl as the force of the impact juddered through my body. I'd never felt such raw pain in my entire life. I rolled around on the floor in agony. Dance for me, boy. Let me hear you sing. As I crawled on the floor, the shadow of the goblin towered over me like a black mountain. Die, brat! Its lips curled around its fangs in a leering grin, and it raised its weapon over its head. Oh, no you don't! You'll have to get through me first! Another of the goblins hesitated for just a moment, only to be run through by a spear of pure lightning conjured up by McGill. The goblin let out a blood-curdling howl as electricity coursed through its body. It clutched awkwardly at its chest where it had been struck, its face contorted with agony and horror. McGill's cape fluttered, and his piercing eyes stared coldly at its victim. None who defy me shall escape my wrath. My head was spinning, but I managed to take the opportunity to rise to my feet. Gob strike incoming! Goblin rushed towards me. I dodged. Swiftly dodged the attack. Morningstar brushed past my cheek. I don't know how, but I managed to escape unscathed. I lost my balance, though, and fell clumsily to the floor. McGill conjured up a black wind, which surged forth like a shearing tempest. How does a human know a spell like that? Who are you? The goblin was quickly silenced as the rushing winds tore through it, and it collapsed to the floor with a final shriek. McGill looked down at his victim, his expression unchanged. Another goblin flew from overhead. Bombs away! This time we'll be countering. Jumped up for the counterattack. I was better off attacking than trying for a clumsy dodge. Tackled the goblin head on. Literally, I smashed my skull into the goblin's grim visage as hard as I could. A shock ran through my neck and shoulders like I'd been brained with a hammer. But it was worth it. Teeth and spittle flew left and right as the great ugly brute rolled stunned across the floor. Long live Lord Lynx! Glory to the Gob Squad! With those final words, the goblin collapsed. That was the last of them. We made it. Huh, piece of cake, said Kid, putting a brave face on things as she wiped the sweat from her brow with her arm. And then she stopped and looked at me. Serge, I was pretty dumb getting the goblins to come after you like that. Think you're some hero off to save the princess. Not with those twig arms. Still, you got guts, I'll give you that. Never a bad look. She gave a gentle giggle. And then McGill stepped in. Save the chatter for later. We can't waste any more time here. Frozen Flame must be somewhere else in the manor. Alright, mate. Thanks for stating the obvious. It's not my bloody fault that Lynx has to make things so bloody difficult for everyone. Kid spun on her heel and made a sulky about face for the door. Suddenly, her attention returned to the pile of defeated goblins. This bunch of Drongos said they're Lynx's elite guard, right? Bet they've got some nice loot on them. With that, she started unceremoniously rummaging through the fallen captain's pockets. She was like a hyena sniffing for scraps. Hello, hello, what's this? She found an odd metal plate. It resembled an open hand, and was covered in runes. Reckon this might open some other magic door somewhere. Well, never know when it might come in handy. Either way, finders keepers. The plate vanished into Kid's pockets. Looks like there's nothing else worth taking, unless you count pocket lint and bits of string. She rose to her feet and looked around the room. You know, it's a real shame to leave the rest of all this loot just sitting here unloved. Suppose we can come back for it whenever. Kid turned to Faceless and flashed a grin. Alright, lads. Let's get a move on. It ain't gonna be dark forever. That hand-shaped plate is our only clue for now, muttered McGill, seemingly to himself. And with that, we left the vault in search for the real Frozen Flame. Now that we are out of that real not great situation, we are going to call it a day for now. Thank you so much for joining me in today's Goblin Slayer episode of Radical Dreamers. I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.